Welcome to the Pennsylvania and Delaware Youth Ministries announcements about fine arts. Everybody wants to know.
Yes.
What's happening? I got Michelle Campbell with me, and she is one of our district fine arts coordinators. Michelle, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks.
good.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for making the time today. We know
Sure.
you're very busy, and so we appreciate you making the time. And we got some information to give out today. We've got, I think we've come up with some great solutions.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited about that. We want to give out some other information as well, and so we welcome, this is a public announcement, so we want to welcome, of course, all students who are watching, parents who are watching, youth pastors, leaders who are watching, and we want to give this word of caution that this information is for the Pennsylvania-Delaware Ministry Network only, even though this is public and you may be watching it from outside of our network. This only applies to you if you go to a church that is in Pennsylvania or Delaware, an Assembly of God church, and you're part of us. Because every district, right, has their own fine arts festival.
Yep.
And to go to the National Fine Arts Festival, you have to pass through your district. But every district will handle this situation and their fine arts festival a little bit differently.
Yes.
So there's been some confusion, there's been some questions. You know, I had a leader email me yesterday or Facebook message me yesterday and say, are we going to do what every other district is doing?
No.
And I said, well, first of all, not every district is doing what you think they're doing.
Yeah.
Actually, so we want to, in fact, I wish we had a sign. If we could just if God would give a sign to our viewers that this information is for Pennsylvania and Delaware only. Wait a minute.
Wait, we do
I've got a sign right here.
Woo!
Pendel information only, people. Pendel information only. Don't take this back. If you're watching from New York, New Jersey, God bless you people over there. Don't take this over to your DYD and say, we should be doing this. God has placed all your DYDs in authority to make the decisions there.
Yep.
And so this is for you guys only. We want to say about Youth Convention. Some people may be wondering about Youth Convention. We had announced Youth Convention is postponed. And we are looking at the fall, probably October, for Youth Convention. And so it's impossible for us to do a Youth Convention this spring. And even if we didn't have the current kind of restrictions and social distancing that we're being advised on, we still logistically would not be able to put together a youth convention, something that big in that short of a time. So we're looking towards the fall. I know a lot of our seniors are saying, well, I'm going to miss youth convention. Well, there was no age restriction on youth convention. Anyone can come to youth convention. And so maybe you're graduating this June. We would welcome you to come this fall to youth convention. So let's talk about fine arts.
Okay.
And, you know, fine arts, I feel like more than any other ministry that we do in Assemblies of God Youth Ministries, fine arts tends to invoke the most passion.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things I love about fine arts is it puts a student with, a group of students usually, with an adult who loves Jesus, and they work together towards a common goal for weeks, months at a time. And that's fantastic. It's not the only way to do it. You know, you could work towards Speed the Light goals, you could work towards campus missions goals, but fine arts really has it built into the system that this is what happens.
I do.
And so when you spend that much time together and you're working together towards a common goal, you really begin to get attached to that, and the passions begin to stir up. And anytime there's passion, there can be attitude.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That is true.
Anything other than God that has our passion, that has our affection, that has our attention, has the potential to be a detractor even from our relationship with God, even something good like this. And so we know, like most of the time, a district youth director wrote this yesterday, if anything's ever going to go sideways or get off track with our students or our leaders over what we do, it's going to be in the area of fine arts. Yeah. Because people get passionate and they begin to view it as a competition.
Yeah.
And there's very few among us who are not competitive.
It's true.
Are you a competitive person?
I'm extremely competitive.
Extremely competitive.
Yes.
Now, so in fine arts can come off as a competition. Yep. It's not the point of the festival to compete with one another. The point of the festival is to discover, develop, deploy your ministry gifts. And so, you know, one of the verses you're hearing a lot of right now is, you know, Paul in Philippians 4, who said, and we used this when we talked about youth convention, don't be anxious or don't worry about anything, but pray about everything, right?
Right. Amen.
I want to, just for a moment, focus on the verse before that, Philippians 4:5, which says, let your reasonableness be known to everyone. Or, depending on the translation you're reading, Philippians 4:5, let your gentle spirit be known to all men. Philippians 4:5, that's the NAS, New American Standard, or the New Living Translation, let everyone see you're considerate in all that we do. I did a word study on this week because I noticed that some translations were saying reasonableness, some were saying considerate, And so there's like a range of meaning around this word, this Greek word. And so when I hear it say, let everyone see that you're considerate, I think, well, yeah, kind and manners. Well, that's not really what this means. The term reasonableness gets closer to it, or gentle spirit. When you have a reasonable, gentle, humble spirit, you are considerate, right?
Absolutely.
And I think, I saw one of our seniors just yesterday put up a post that I'm fully sympathetic with and support her in. And she said, I hate the coronavirus. It's ruining my senior year, and it's taking everything away from me.
Wow.
And I'm fully sympathetic with that. Youth convention, spring musical. And today we're going to talk about fine arts with that as well. And I think it's okay to be upset and to be angry at the coronavirus.
It is.
But it's never really upset for us to be inappropriately behaving towards one another.
Right.
So I would say be angry at the coronavirus.
But not with one another.
But not with one another.
Because we're all in this
Not with
together.
one
It's
another.
affecting everybody.
It's affecting all of us. And so I just did a word study on that word that they're using for reasonable considerateness. And it basically says, one of the things I saw in the New International Dictionary of New Testament Theology and Exegesis, which all of my academics will know is an excellent work for Greek word study. It says it reflects an attitude of contentment. This word means it reflecting an attitude of contentment with one's state, even when one has not been treated justly.
That's good.
And so how do we translate that? We say, well, reasonableness, being considerate. And I would say we are all being treated unjustly by the coronavirus compared to our normal lives. Let's learn to be content and treat one another kindly. And when it comes to fine arts, I've seen some students take on some pretty serious negative attitudes towards adults, and I've seen some leaders do the same thing. And I saw it when I was a teenager in myself. I saw it when I was a coach, and the teenagers I coached. I saw it as a youth pastor. It's normal for something like that to happen when something has our passions. But you know what? Let's just take a step back. And let's just say, what is this about? It's about fine arts, discovering, develop, deploying your ministry gifts. And so, bottom line, the National Fine Arts Festival is still being planned for August. And so, is it going to happen? We are trusting God and believing that it's going to happen. And we're planning like it's going to happen. We're trusting and believing God that youth camp is going to happen. I'm trusting God that we're in an 8-week kind of restrictive period right now from the CDC of large gatherings. It started Sunday, and our youth camp stuff is going to be due when that's over, and everybody's going to be ready to get out of the house.
Yes.
So plan on coming to camp. And National Fine Arts is also being forward. It's going forward as planned. Now, here's one of the challenges. No one goes to National Fine Arts without passing through the district Fine Arts Festival. And that's how it's set up. And in fact, the national office depends on us to have a filtering process.
Yes.
That we're only sending the best of Pennsylvania and Delaware to that festival. And so it is logistically impossible for everybody to be able to just go on to nationals.
Right.
And so there has to be a filtering process. Now, we're blessed in this district to be large enough that we have a sectional festival. So we've already had one level of filtering.
Yes.
And I just love that we have a sectional festival, because if the purpose of fine arts is to discover, develop, and deploy your ministry gifts, the more levels of evaluation that we can do and do well, the better off our students are in that mission.
That's right.
And so we're presented with a challenge, because it should be obvious by now, we cannot have our traditional fine arts festival.
Yep. And
we will not be able to gather and do that.
circumstances, just won't allow for that this year, and So I think we've put some good minds together.
Yeah, we
And-
have. And I'll say this, every district in the nation is facing this.
Yes.
17 districts in our nation, of the dozens that exist, have already had their festivals. They got through it, their district festival. We did not get through our district festival. Our neighbors, Jersey, Potomac District, New York District, none of them were able to. None of us were able to get through our festivals before this shutdown occurred. And so we're all across the nation. We're talking together. So the decisions we've made, we have not made alone. We're making together with other districts. We're looking at what they're doing. They're looking at what we're doing, and we're working together to come up with a solution. And so there will be no traditional district fine arts festival this year. It's just not possible.
Right.
And so we have worked on coming up with a non-traditional festival in line with the purpose of fine arts. Now I know everybody, and when you get competitive, when you get in that festival, what's the goal? We want to go to nationals,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's not about, the festival is not about going to nationals.
It's
It's
not.
not what it's about. It's about discovering, developing, and deploying your ministry gifts. And I think anyone who has a God-given gift and who's serving Jesus has a stewardship responsibility to develop that gift, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And sectional fine arts, district fine arts, just being involved in your local church is a part of that. National fine arts may also be a part of that. And so how do we have a non-traditional festival? How do we accomplish this purpose, discover, develop, deploy? How do we create this filtering process? Well, we are going to be having a digitally submitted fine arts festival here in this district. Now, there's going to be a lot of questions, and we may have some questions already, but just hear us out first, because you're going to have questions. You're going to be, I know a lot of people are operating out of fear. A lot of people are operating out of drama, because it is a fine arts festival.
You want to talk about a large drama?
Yeah, we got large drama right now. And so just hear what we have to say here, and we'll get through this. First of all, I would say this, because we cannot have a physical gathering, some of your churches will have already decided that we are not going to go to Columbus. We'd already decided that. It's already a part of our church calendar. We're not going. Can we have our money back for the district festival? The answer is yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And in fact, I've talked with my team about this, and this applies to youth convention, and this applies to fine arts. If you want to, we can keep that money and we can credit it to you for youth camp or for our postponed youth convention, or you can have it go towards the big give, or we will refund it. And I think in this time, I've talked with my team about this, it's not ethical for us to hold on to anyone's money.
Right.
And say, well, we didn't cancel it, we postponed it. No. If you need the money, by all means, request the refund. We know a lot of people are suffering and being challenged, and part of our ethical responsibility and our pastoral care responsibility for you is to fully make that accessible. It takes some time for us to process those things, but you can. What are we going to do, Jess? Are we going to have? Are we going to call everybody about this, or are we going to?
I think in this case they just need to contact us.
Just contact Jessica at penndell.org. Jessica at penndell.org, and you can request a refund. But here's the thing: if you get a refund, you don't pass through the district level. You do not go to the national level. Period. So you can't get your money back and still go to nationals and all. You can go to National Youth Convention and attend that, but you cannot be a part of the Fine Arts Festival nationally if you get your money back. And that may be a part of your calculation this year, because everything is so different. And no one would fault you for that. And I would say, if you feel like God's leading you that way, and then that would be wisdom on your part to make that happen. However, we have some great we have a great alternative. If you are, and this is going to be nuanced, so listen closely. If you are in an individual category, not a group category, if you did whether it's a presentation or whether it's an artistic entry, Michelle, what do these students need to do?
Again, if you are an individual who participated, whether it be short sermon, female vocal, the dance category, submitted photography, artwork, we are going to have you digitally submit your performance or entry. That information will be forthcoming, but again, if you are an individual, you are not in a group, so it's just one person that received an excellent or a superior at the sectional level, you will submit your entry or performance digitally, and it will be evaluated.
And so let's talk a little bit about what that looks like, just the big picture. If you're an individual presentation or artistry, a drawing, a photograph, whatever, you will submit it by video. If it's a presentation piece, song, drama, instrument, whatever it is, preaching, you will submit that by video. The guidelines, there will be specific rules and guidelines for this, by next Wednesday will be available. So you're hearing this now this Wednesday, it'll be available by next Wednesday. And you will record this in your living room. You know, hey, if your church is open, you're welcome to go to your church and record it. This, you know, there's some of these, don't get too far ahead of yourself before the guidelines come out, because I can tell you right now, we are looking at creating an equality of submissions. So we know some churches have studios, and some churches have great equipment, and some churches don't. You'll need to record it with a phone. You know, find the best phone you can find, and you'll need to use the microphone from the phone. So no like direct inlines, no studio recordings, no professionally produced things, no edited post, you know, no post editing on these things. So there'll be a whole set of regulations that you need to abide by. And if you don't abide by them, you're out.
Right.
Right? It's a challenging time. Let's be reasonable and considerate to all.
Right.
Including each other in the festival. And so it will be submitted digitally. And the guidelines for that will come out, but essentially we're looking at uploading those things to YouTube. There will be specific guidelines for those uploads that ensure that we're not violating copyright, things like that. And everyone will be able to present their pieces as is, and using these platforms. And then we'll have a form that you will also submit telling us where your link is, everything like that. And I'm just like, I'm going to pull an audible here, because we came up with this plan yesterday with the youth committee, and of course you were part of that meeting. But I'm going to pull an audible here, and I'm going to say this: we are going to add 1 point to everybody's evaluation if you also post this publicly on your social media to share the gospel with your friends.
Yes.
We'll
Absolutely.
add 1 point
Yes.
to everybody's evaluation.
Yes.
And so, because the point of fine arts is to discover, develop, and deploy. So deploy those gifts publicly through your social media platforms. And so you'll make a YouTube private link, and we'll have all the guidelines for that. But also we want you to share this through your Instagram. Instagram is probably the best way to do it, because we can see a link. But if you have TikTok, you want to share that link with us. Whatever it is, you need to be able to prove to us that you shared it publicly with your friends.
Yeah.
And
Let's blow up social media with
it up
with the gospel.
with the gospel.
With your ministries.
And so we will give you 1 extra point to your evaluation sheets.
I agree.
And that may make the difference in you advancing. So,
Yes.
so what's going to happen? So then our evaluators, who also are not able to gather,
Right.
will be able to take a look at these links. They'll be able to evaluate, and we can put them together through Google Hangouts or Zoom meetings, and they can talk with one another and say, okay, this is good to go to nationals, this is not good to go to nationals. And so this applies to all individual categories. This applies to art categories.
Yep.
Of course, writing categories, no hindrances there, and those
Right.
being submitted. So guidelines for getting all that together and taken care of, we will have up by next Wednesday. Now,
Yes, if you've done short film, promo video, or writing, we should already have your submission, so you don't have to redo that.
absolutely, very good. That's excellent. And so, if you are in a group category, let's talk about group categories. It is challenging, even for groups, except for choirs. Groups are under 10 people.
Correct.
So we know technically you could get together and record your group, but we also know there is just a lot of hesitation that everybody's having right now. And we think that hesitation is reasonable. You know, this is not a matter of faith, but it is a matter of respecting one another, respecting our neighbors, respecting our government authorities. And we don't want to put a parent or a group of parents or a pastor in the difficult position of having to get a group together when they may sense a hesitation in their spirit about that.
Right.
Right? God may be saying to
Right.
them, don't get together because they have an elderly person in the house. You know,
Right.
we respect that and we think it's appropriate. So we have a early present for everyone today who is in a group category with Pennsylvania and Delaware District Fine Arts. If you are in the Pennsylvania Delaware Ministry Network only, this applies to you. And you are in a group category, you will receive an automatic advancement to Columbus at Fine Arts for that group presentation.
Yes.
And so they don't, I think what they need to do, and we'll have this as part of the guidelines, is Every leader, every group needs to let us know if they intend to go.
Correct, yes.
Because we don't need to advance you if you don't intend
Right.
to go.
Right.
Right? And some of you may be saying, well, you know, we have a lot of families out of work now because of the coronavirus, so we're not going. I have full respect for
Yes.
that decision, and I think it's a
Yes.
wise decision. So if you want to tell, and I had one pastor contacted me yesterday and said, well, we already know we're not going, so we'll probably get a refund. I have full respect for that decision. Do what's best in the stewardship of what God's given you, you know.
Yep.
So you'll need to let us know whether or not you want to go. But you have a group presentation, you advance automatically to Columbus.
Yes.
All guidelines, rules, regulations available by next Wednesday, and let's talk about deadlines.
Okay.
Essentially, the plan is for everything to be evaluated on the same timeline that we already
Yes.
have established.
Yes.
So currently, the festival is going to take place, I want to say the 8th and
April
9th.
8th and 9th.
It was going to take place the 8th and 9th. And so here's what's happened. We have evaluators ready to go. They've taken off work. They've set aside time for April 8th and 9th.
Yes.
And so we need to keep the timeline of April 8th and 9th for evaluations
Yes.
to be completed by. And so that means we really need everyone to upload their videos before that.
Yes.
And so it won't be more than a week before that, but I would say up to a week out will be the deadline for uploading your video.
Yeah, that'll be sufficient. I think if it's a week in advance, we can organize everything and.
So April 1st,
Yep.
it's not an April Fool's joke. It's
Yep.
a real thing.
Yes.
April 1st is a Wednesday. Everything needs to be uploaded. The form that we will provide you with online needs to be submitted by then, et cetera, et cetera. And then the evaluation will take place April 8th and 9th, and we will process that and get it back to you. I'll tell you the deadline to register for Columbus for National Fine Arts is June 1st.
Yes.
So that gives you even 6 weeks after, 5 or 6 weeks after that to decide whether or not you want to go. But congratulations, those of you who are in a group category.
Yes.
You will
Congratulations.
advance to Columbus, and if you're in an individual category, you will need to submit, and we will have high standards as we started having last year for the individual categories. So please don't think that individual categories are going to automatically advance. That is not going to happen. That is not in keeping with the spirit of the mission of fine arts to discover, develop, and deploy. We're only making an exception for group categories because of the special circumstances we find ourselves in.
Right.
Someone is asking, what if students don't have social media accounts?
So what if students don't have social media accounts? Good question.
Does everybody have the capability to video on a phone?
Yeah, I think most everybody can get to a phone,
I
right?
think
Yeah.
they're asking about that.
They're asking about the extra point, right?
Okay.
And so find a way to share it.
Yep. That's what I was
You
gonna
got
say.
people, you
Send
got
it to
people
somebody.
that got
Yep.
social media accounts. Your church has a social media account.
Yep.
And although I would not consider that, if you share it with your church, I wouldn't consider that publicly sharing it. But if you don't personally own a social media account, that's fine. Now, I don't want to find out later that you did own one and you didn't do it. That would be butts is what that would be. So, find a way to post it. Find a way to post it. Yeah, find a way to share it. So,
And
how
then
about what other?
Can we just clarify the refunds? We have
Yeah.
some people confused thinking that if they're refunding their group for convention that they can't participate in fine arts.
No, so convention and fine arts are two different things. So if you want your group refunded for convention, we are processing that or have processed that.
Yes.
Fine arts is a different registration process. And I know like these two events have happened back to back, but they are two different things. And so if you requested a refund for convention, that is happening. But no one, to my knowledge, has yet requested a refund for fine arts because we're just making this announcement today. So you need to, if you want a refund for fine arts, you need to make a separate request by emailing jessica@penndale.org. And if you don't want a refund, you want to participate, you want to move forward, then you are currently scheduled to do that if you haven't asked for a refund.
Yep.
So
And then lastly, there's just a lot of questions that seniors are asking if they can still come to convention, so.
seniors can still come to convention. In fact, there are no, on a district, now your youth group may have age restrictions. So it's ultimately a question for your church. On a district level, we don't have age restrictions on who can come to convention. It's the only event really that we do that any age can come to in Penndel Youth Ministries, but it's also up to your local leaders. You know, so we don't restrict that, but if your youth pastor or your church has a policy, then you know, you would have to come to convention separate from your church or youth group or not come at all. Yeah.
Right.
But if you are a senior, there's nothing on our end that's keeping you from coming this fall, and we would welcome you to come, and we'd love for you to be there.
Did we say anything about the submission of photography categories? We have some questions about that.
So there'll be guidelines out within a week. Some of those specifics are still working out, and we are putting our heads together with other districts. Several other districts are slightly ahead of us on this, and have came up with some great guidelines. So we're looking at a lot of that. So yeah, you will. I know that there's like traditional photography submission. There's digital photography submission. We're going to keep those categories separate. Obviously,
Yes.
you'll be submitting it digitally. Doesn't mean it was taken digitally, right? The photo was
Correct.
taken. So,
Correct.
so we'll have guidelines out just about all that within a week.
And I believe all of the artwork now requires that you have a paper that says what you used as far as the type of camera and what type of media you used. So that will help us distinguish, because obviously now everything's going to be mobily submitted, but it doesn't mean it was mobily taken.
Right, correct. And so there'll be guidelines for that. And I would just say if you have an individual category that you're rehearsing, keep rehearsing that. Keep working on it.
Yes. You have lots of time.
You
now.
have time on your hands, but also we are going to push our evaluators to be stringent, as we always have.
Yes.
We will take into account on some audio issues. We'll take into account that this is being submitted from a cell phone, not in person. That will all be taken into account. But there will also be, as always, stringent criteria
Yes.
for advancing out of the district level.
Yes.
So, any other questions right now? Okay. So in a week, you'll see the guidelines. Don't ask any of us any questions like, what do I do if I have this category? Wait a week for the guidelines to come out, and that will be very helpful to you.
Yes.
And then if there's, we've never done this before, we're in uncharted territory, so it's foreseeable there may be some holes or questions. We're happy to facilitate those. But give us the week to get the guidelines formulated,
Yeah.
finalized,
Yeah.
and together. So.
And Lee, obviously, they're not going to be getting together in groups, and we're sending the groups on. But if your group was recorded at your sectional level, get on and share that on social media. Let's just blow up social media with ministry.
That would be great. That would be fantastic. And so, hey, listen, at this time, I encourage you again with the words of the Apostle Paul. Each of us ought to look not only to our own interests, but also to the interests of others. And how can you serve your neighbors during this time? How can you serve your friends? It's a kind of a woe is me for like the senior who I saw post yesterday. Coronavirus took away my whole senior year. That is woe is me. And a great way to overcome that is to find a way to serve others. Serve your neighbors,
Absolutely.
serve one another. We love you. We're praying for you. God bless you. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mark. Goodbye.